All right. All right. Welcome. For you guys that may have been maybe in here already early, you guys let me know, did you see me sitting there not saying anything, or did you just see me start to talk? The reason why I'm asking is, again, man, my streaming software always seems to tell me that it's not live yet, whereas it seems like it's live because your chat populates in the software. So I'm trying to get the timing together. So if some of you guys that were waiting, if you can let me know the first thing you saw me do is talk, or did you see me just sitting here, take a sip of tea or what have you, if you can let me know that, that would be great. But what's up, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, live from the steel basement. And we got a few more things to talk about, man, in regards to our Steelers. Not any real detailed stuff as of yet. Unfortunately, we all know at this point we would be talking about that because training camp would not only be underway, which it is, but it would be in a more traditional format. We would have some reports coming out of training camp, as well as we would be preparing to take on the Dallas Cowboys in the Hall of Fame game. We all know that's not happening, so a very slow training start to the training camp season here. So, again, as far as the news, the only thing we can really do is read articles and things of that nature, because I don't even think the media has been allowed in training camp as of yet. So that's about all we get. Thank God we got a few interviews or what have you that we heard. Hopefully you guys checked them out. The Tomlin interview, the Ben interview, Canada interviewed, or Canada, excuse me, Matt Canada interviewed, Ike Hilliard, a couple people like that. So that's about all we got. But before we get started, man, let me just say what's up to you guys. Okay, Builder's Life said, sitting silent, pointing at the camera, no voice. Okay, see, it's weird. And that's what I thought. I thought as soon as the chat populates in the streaming software that you can see me. But the software is actually saying it's giving me a countdown and showing me the percentage of when it will be published to YouTube. So, whatever. So I think I got the timing down now. Thank you, Builder's Life, for giving me that information. All right, guys, let's take a look here. Let's see who's here early and often. Kegel's Bagel. What's up, Kegel? Actually, man, I wanted to say what's up to you anyway. I did get your information that you sent me on Twitter. Probably won't get to that on this show, but yes, I think that might be a good idea. And actually, if I can find it, give me a second. Let me see if I can find it really quick, and I'll let you guys know what he was referring to. And actually, I won't hold you guys up. I'll try to find it as we're doing the show, and I'll let you guys know the idea that Kegel had. Let's get back to the shout-outs. Michael Garman, more AGWS, Just Foster. Don't know if I've seen that name before, man. I could be wrong on that, but that's an unfamiliar name. So how you doing if you're new or if you haven't been here in a while? I appreciate you stopping by. Jerry McCrae, Steve Williams, Builder's Life, user hit stick, excuse me. Nicholas Mack, Jason Winningham, Daredevil, Jordan Mid. Hello, Miss Lanisha. How you doing this evening? Nays is in the building. Dave Shipley, Luis D, my good brother Kenyon in the building. Who else is up in here, man? Sippy Boy's in the building. Did I miss somebody? I'm back. See me. I don't know if I've seen you before either, so how you doing? Thank you for coming through. Leonard Green, and we'll read a couple more. Depressed Steelers fan is in the building. Jay Waller. And that's about it for now. So welcome to you guys, and welcome to anyone who may be watching and haven't commented, and welcome to you all that will come in after I've already read the shout-outs. So, what we're going to talk about tonight, man, let me get to my list here. Not a whole lot, man, but I think it's enough to have a decent discussion. We'll talk about the Steelers roster moves. You guys may or may not know by now. You may have heard they've cut down to 80-man roster, so we'll talk about the guys who got cut and waived or what have you. Ben Roethlisberger explains his elbow injury, so we'll talk a little bit about that because he kind of went into depth as far as, what actually happened in his interview with the media. And then, a couple key takeaways from the Steelers position coaches, Ike Hilliard and Matt Canada. I'm not going to really go into full detail as far as, elaborate things that they said, but just a couple key, takeaways that I think that I can surmise by listening to what these guys were saying. So that's kind of what we'll talk about tonight. And of course, you guys calls. That's going to be the second portion of the show. Call in. Y'all know the routine. If you're new, the way we do it, we have you guys call in. And actually, hold on, let me make sure. Yeah. The numbers on the screen, because I think last week for a portion of the show, I wasn't even, I was all out of order. I didn't even have the number on the screen. But the number's right there, guys. We let you call in. You say your piece, a minute or so, and then, we move on to the next caller. So there you have it. So for the first time, I'm going to talk about what I'm actually mentioning in the title right out the gate. Let's talk about the 80-man roster and how the Steelers actually got there. So let me pull up the list of guys, man, who are no longer with the Pittsburgh Steelers. First one on the list. Some of you guys are going to be a little pissed about this. Some of you, okay? Because some of you guys had high hopes. We talked about it before, during the offseason before training camp started or what have you. J.T. Barrett. J.T. Barrett was released, folks, so it's not even a conversation now as far as, can he overtake one of the guys for the number 3 spot. Running back, Ralph Webb. Wide receiver, Quadri Henderson. I think Quadri Henderson spent a year or two with us on the practice squad, so it's unfortunate to see that he never panned out, speedy guy out of Pitt. Just never panned out, but, it is what it is. I guess he wasn't going to get an opportunity anyway, so some of these guys, you kind of understand why they got cut. Offensive lineman Christian Montano, linebacker Christian Kuntz, linebacker Dwayne Hendricks, safety Tyree Cannell. Why am I running these guys' names together? What's wrong with my speech tonight? So yeah, Tyree Cannell, he's a safety. DN Josiah Coatney. And then we also waived Arian Springs, another defensive cornerback, I believe. It's unfortunate, man, that he got waived because some of you guys may or may not know that he was on the COVID-19 list. And the COVID-19 list is, it's very non-disclosure. We don't know whether these guys have contracted the virus or they're just in quarantine, due to being in contact with someone or perhaps in the household with someone who has it. I do like that the NFL is doing that. There's no need for us to really know. That's these guys' business. I don't think we really need to know who has it and who doesn't have it. All we need to know is that this person is a potential threat to everyone else's health, whether he has it or has come in contact with it. So it's unfortunate, man, that he's the type of guy that, was put on that list, and now he gets waived while on the list. So that kind of sucks. I kind of feel bad for him, but, we all know how this business goes, man. It is a business, and it is what it is at the end of the day. Now, speaking of the COVID list, for you guys that may not know, guess who's actually on that list right now? Jalen Samuels and wide receiver James Washington. Yes, folks. So in case you haven't heard, Samuels and Washington are both now on the COVID-19 list. Again, non-disclosure as far as us knowing whether either one of these gentlemen have the virus or whether they're just in quarantine because they have come in contact with someone that does have the virus. It's just unfortunate, man, because again, even though these guys, you can kind of call them veteran players at this point, it's unfortunate because there's no preseason, right? All you're getting is your practice reps. They're not even putting on pads yet, so it's still, football and shorts. But all of that is going to be very important in this season. So any time missed is time missed. You know what I mean? Pun intended. That sucks. It really sucks for a guy like Jalen Samuels because like I said last week, and I'm going to say it again right here for you guys that didn't hear it, I think Jalen Samuels is in jeopardy of losing a job. I really, really think that a guy like Smallwood is going to make the roster, and I think the Steelers will more than likely keep 4 running backs, and to me, those 4 running backs will be James Conner, Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland, and Wendell Smallwood. That's what I think is going to be if the Steelers are going to go with 4. I really think they're going to go with 4 because my gut feeling is telling me that there's a reason why you bring in a guy like Smallwood. Again, I spoke about this last week, but for the new viewers or for you guys that may have missed it, just to give you my thought process, why bring in a veteran running back? You know, a guy who's been in the league for a little bit of time, a proven guy. You know, he has plenty of tape for you to review, has done a couple things while he was with the Eagles. You know, never really the quote unquote featured back. You know, there were times, might even been last season or the season before, that, you know, he got a lot of time. You know, I don't know if he was the featured back because I didn't watch it all the Eagles game, but there was times where, you know, he definitely was carrying the rock. You know, at least when he was with the Eagles. And I think he's only been with the Eagles, I think. Something is telling me he may have been with another team as well. I could be mixing him up with somebody else. But either or, whatever his career path went, he has enough tape out there for you to say this is a guy that we might want to bring in for a reason. I don't think you bring him in as just a roster spot for the offseason. I don't think you're calculating a guy like that into your 90-man roster, and especially this year, the 80-man roster. I don't think you're doing that. What is the benefit? Some would say, well, it helps, you know, it helps to force competition. Yeah, but I would say a guy like Smallwood is a little further along than just competition. You already got guys in camp that could be competition, like a Kerrith White, right? Who is, in my opinion, is also on the short list of being on the outside, right? Because of McFarland being drafted. I don't see Kerrith White sticking. So maybe you're going to let's say you're bringing a guy in for competition. Well, what position are they competing for? The fourth spot on the depth chart? And even if you're going to say that McFarland might be at the lower end of the totem pole because he's newer, I still think he's going to see some time, and I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. But why would you bring in Smallwood if you didn't have any plans? Again, especially now during this COVID season that we all unfortunately have been a part of, right? Why would you bring a guy like that just to cut him? So that makes me think that a guy like Jalen Samuels is in some trouble. More so than a Benny Snell, and definitely more so than a McFarland. You're not cutting that guy. And you're not putting McFarland on the practice squad because he will be yoked up very quick. So just how I feel about that. So again, just to reiterate, these guys being on the COVID list, I don't know how long the quarantine period is, but again, any time missed is time missed. Even when it's football and shorts, guys are still getting their rotations. So I would imagine a guy like Smallwood, as well as McFarland, are taking a lot of those snaps right now, any snaps that Samuels may have gotten or may be getting right now in the quote-unquote training camp. We also signed free agent safety Curtis Riley. Don't know a whole lot about Curtis Riley. I did look at a little bit of his film, a few of his highlights. I have gathered, from watching that as well as listening to what other people have to say about him, that he's more of a guy that has the ability as well to play, as a deep safety. So he offers some more coverage, capability. From what I saw, I clearly see. I mean, it's very easy to see watching his film, even if you only watch his highlights, which that's always dangerous to do. But sometimes you can get a feel for a guy watching highlights if it's the right package of highlights. But even if you watch his film, clearly to me, he's already a guy that's has more playmaking ability. I'm going to do the quote fingers because I'm not saying he's a playmaker, but he has more playmaking ability than I've already seen out of Terrell Edmunds. And again, if his pedigree is that he can play deep as well, definitely sounds like we have found our third safety in rotation. Could be very possible, man, depending on how they want to use him. We might see situations where we prefer to go more coverage, right? Where let's say we use more 3 safety sets like we did when Cam Kelly was there. We might see situations, folks, where Edmunds is going to be around the box more. And we're going to allow Riley and Minkah Fitzpatrick to play deep. Or also, there's talk that, they're saying that they might want to move Minkah around a little bit more. Well, these situations might be where you see Riley on the field because Riley has a better pedigree, or let's say better representation. He's represented himself better playing deep than Edmunds has. So I think this guy's going to see some time. I think he's going to stick. it makes me wonder who's cut. I don't know if the Steelers are going to keep 5 safeties. It's possible, but it's always that area right there is always the area where the Steelers can trim a little bit of fat. And I'm talking about corners and safeties. Sometimes they might elect to go with 5 safeties. Sometimes they might elect to only go with 4 safeties and have 6 corners. It's usually a total of 10 in the defensive backfield, right? That's usually what the Steelers do on the roster. So let's say they're going to go with the more traditional, what we've mostly seen out of them. They're going to go 4 safeties. Now, who you looking at? I think Riley is going to make it. Because, again, he has that NFL experience, and he's shown better play in game than a Dangerfield has, right? Antoine Brooks Jr. is the young kid, a little further down the draft. So guys like that can always get cut or be practice squad. So it's going to come down, I think, to a Dangerfield versus Brooks. Because I really do think, again, I could be wrong, but understand where I'm coming from with this, guys. When you're talking about a season where the season is just not normal, you're not getting preseason. You would think most teams are going to go with what they know. A guy that you see on film, a veteran. You don't really have to guess too much about what they're capable of. You already know that. The only thing that you're really playing a guessing game is how do they fit in our system if you're a coach, right? Same thing I feel about Smallwood. We know what Smallwood is. We know what kind of player he can be. The only question is going to be, does he mesh with the Steelers offense? And that's what, Fietner and Canada and whoever else has a hand in that will have to decide. I think it's going to be the same thing with this kid Riley. Again, why bring in a guy like that this late, a veteran, if you're not intending on using him in this COVID season where you can't really get preseason to throw guys out there and, roll the dice and see what they do? I think the veterans are going to have the edge, man. So I would like to hope that they're not going to release or cut Brooks. I think he has some potential, especially, being more of a pure, strong safety, in my opinion. I think this guy probably has some upside. He's young. Let him work. Keep him close. You might not want to practice squad him either. So I think there's a chance if the Steelers go with 4 safeties, a guy like Jordan Dangerfield might get cut, because I think the guys that we have brought in will have special teams capability as well. So you're going to, you're already losing some with losing guys like Metakevich, guys like Anthony Chickalo, who are special teams demons. I think we're able to replace some of these guys with the talent that we've acquired. Even a guy like Chase Claypool, I'm sure, is going to be on special teams, perhaps as a gunner. You know what I mean? So there you have it. Also, Justin Lane. I forgot to talk about Justin Lane. He's also on the list. He's on the COVID list as well. So that's going to be interesting as far as seeing, who's going to get some backup reps right now while they're playing football in shorts. No Artie Burns, and I know a lot of us are happy about that. But if you look at that cornerback room, once you get past Joe Hayden and Steven Nelson, who do you got? Yeah, you got Mike Hilton, but Mike Hilton is primarily a slot. Yeah, you got Cam Sutton, but Cam Sutton, hasn't played as much on the outside, even though he's capable. But you see what I'm saying? It's like the pickings are getting thin, man. Is a guy like, Trajan Bandy, is he going to, be able to carve a name out for himself or what have you? We'll see. So it's interesting anytime injuries and or whatever other reason, whatever other list players end up on, like the COVID list this year. It's always interesting to see how that's going to affect who possibly makes the roster, especially this year without having preseason. So that's all I would say on that. I don't think I have anything else on it. Let me see. I see Adrian Hogan says Brooks might get the Dangerfield treatment, put on practice squad. Maybe, man, but I don't know how long he lasts on the practice squad. So that would be my only concern there. I don't know how long he would last on the practice squad. Not saying that he's a outstanding player or anything like that at this juncture, but again, teams are always looking and lurking. Look at what happened with Tuzar Skipper last year when we thought we were going to get him back. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful when you're dealing with practice squad and waiving guys and et cetera, et cetera. Let's see what else we want to talk about, man. Let's see what direction I want to go in now. I guess we could talk a little bit about Ben Roethlisberger's injury. It's good to see Ben Roethlisberger out there throwing the football. I would definitely say that. It was a good sight to see that, throwing the football. He said himself, hasn't really been any, any negative effects of him throwing the football. He's saying he feels good. He did admit to everyone, which a lot of us, kind of speculated. He's kind of had an injury in that elbow for the last few years. He's kind of played through it, and he basically said in that Seattle game, the pain was just, a little different. You guys know, for you guys who may have played sports and you play through pain, or even if you don't play sports, it is, something on your body hurts and you're kind of used to a little nagging. Then all of a sudden it's like more than normal. So that's how Ben kind of described his elbow. He said the pain was actually shooting all the way down his arm. It felt different than prior years. Come to find out, if I'm saying it correctly, I think he said there was like 5 flex tendons or something like that in the elbow. He had torn 3 of them off of the bone. So that just goes to show you, man, what kind of condition he was in with that elbow. But, he says he feels great. He says he's feeling great right now. He looks great. I will say that. I don't know, and really quick, let's just take a side note to give a shout out here to Dave Shipley. Appreciate the donation, man. He says, who's trade bait? Whoa. Hold that. I'm going to come right to you and we'll see. And actually, if you guys in the chat can answer that too, who do you guys think? He says, well, not he says, but remember a lot of people were saying he was out of shape and all that. Ben looking good, man. He looks thin. Ben is never going to look like an Adonis. You know what I'm saying? He ain't never been a ripped up guy and all of that. You kind of judge Ben's in shapeness, if you will, based on how thin he looks. He looks thin. He actually said he's coming in a little lighter than he's been in plenty of years. So, again, it's always funny when the media and even some of you fans go running with this first narrative. You seeing him with the beard and he's injured and everybody's talking about he's fat and all that. I'm like, come on, man. Y'all already know when it's time to play football, what Ben is going to look like. So I just don't understand why people run with those stories. It is hilarious to me, man. It's especially some of the mainstream media. I'm like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Just trying to find something to talk about, I guess. So let's answer my man's question. He says, who is trade bait? I want to see what some of you guys actually say in the chat, because I'm going to be honest, I don't know right off the bat. And the reason why I don't know, of course, there's guys on the team that's trade bait, but here's the question. At this point, what are the Steelers trading for? That makes it hard for me to kind of, give my opinion on who could be trade bait, because I don't know what the Steelers would be looking to get. Is there a player we're trying to get right there? Is there a draft pick at this juncture that we're looking for? That's why it makes it a little harder for me to assume or even come up with a speculation on who's trade bait. I don't think anybody is, tradable right now because of that reason. I don't think the Steelers are in the market. Let me see what you guys are saying. What y'all got? Nay says no one wants to trade the Steelers. That might be true. What do y'all got, man? Somebody depressed Steelers fan says Cam, Bush, TJ. Nah. I'm not trading any of these guys. Hey, father-in-law Leonard. Leonard says Edmonds not much on him. I'm not sure what you're commenting on there, Leonard. I don't know if you're speaking on the trade or if you're just speaking about something else. So, if I'm misreading that, if you could tell me exactly what you're referring to when you talk about Edmonds, and I'll definitely comment on that. What else y'all got, man? Shout outs to the good brother Rough House Boxing with the donation. I would definitely read your comment right now. He says, salute Sim. It's been a minute, bruh. For all listening, if you're not subscribed to Homie Sim, you're slipping on your pimping. Y'all know that lingo right there, man. That we've grown accustomed to loving that, man. And in the chat, always love when Rough House would come on and say that, man. So I appreciate you coming through, my man. Hope you're doing well, brother. Let me read a few more comments here as far as the trade. Jordan Miz says Washington and Edmonds still on rookie contracts. Okay. Washington, I kind of see where y'all are going with that one. Edmonds, possibly. I don't know how much we would get for him. And I think maybe that's what Leonard was talking about too. But yeah, somebody like Washington, Jordan, I see where you're going with that one. I think Washington definitely, how he performed last year would put him into trade talk conversations, for a team that needs a receiver. Again, I just don't know what the Steelers would be looking for. That's my only thing at this point. Now, if we're talking about before the trade deadline, maybe we're looking to acquire more picks. I don't know, but do we know that by week 8? You know what I'm saying? So that's the only reason why I can't think of anybody. Somebody said, oh, Nays says, please trade Vance McDonald. I can't knock your opinion there, Nays, but listen, man, the tight end room is slim. So, while you asking to trade him, so in that case, you're talking about us just having Ebron and the young kid, what's his name? Zach Gentry, and whoever else would be behind. You see what I'm saying? It's easy for you to say that, but how do we fill that hole? Somebody said Cam Hayward. Nah, I ain't doing that. I ain't for that. All right, last one here, and then I'll see if I got any phone calls. Wade Johnson says Edmonds and a draft pick for the other Jet safety. Okay, I can see that. And Low, you're absolutely right. The Steelers don't do those type of trades. You're absolutely right. Listen, they have surprised us here in the recent, the very recent past here. They have surprised us with the way they've traded up to get Bush and how they traded to get Minka. But yeah, I would kind of go with the conventional wisdom that I don't think we're trading out like that. I don't see it, and I don't know what the need would be right now that would make them want to do that. So before we get to the calls, if there are any, I'll give you what I took away. The key thing that I took away from listening to the press conferences with Matt Canada and Ike Hilliard, and I need to go back and listen to them again. I always listen to things 2 or 3 times just to make sure I, digest them properly. The key thing I take away, man, is some of these young guys that we drafted have an opportunity, and I think they're going to see some time this year. If you listen to how, Hilliard is speaking of, a guy like Chase Claypool, he basically said, listen, if this dude does what we expect him to do in training camp, expect him to see some time. Like, he's basically stamping it, saying, he's going to play. He may very well play. I think that's saying a lot. And he's talking about, his biggest attribute being his size, his attributes as far as his height and size and speed. So anytime the receiver coach is already talking like, yeah, if we can keep him going in the direction that he's already going right now in the offseason, he will play. I think it's safe to say that we're going to see Chase Claypool, and I think that we're definitely going to see Ike Hilliard doing whatever he can, to get this guy where he needs to be, as well as, a little bit of mention about James Washington saying, what all of these guys, kind of making them a little more diverse. I like that in terms of routes and things like that, because I think that Claypool is definitely going to need that as well. I mean, I'm not going to beat him up about it. He's a rookie, and some guys in college, they have, you can see route tree capabilities, but then there's some guys that they only run fly patterns and they run down the seams and things like that, and it's not all the way their fault. Some of that is scheme and the way the college game works. However, there's other guys that you can clearly see that they have the footwork in the route, running a capability. And shout outs to, again, my brother Kenya, man, had dropped the video on me, kind of showcasing the Pittman brothers, and Claypool was working out with them and a couple other guys, and they were just doing drills. You can clearly see the difference in the footwork. You know what I'm saying? Or like how Big Shaq would say, the feet work. You can clearly see the differences. Claypool didn't look bad, but you could see where those guys' footwork was like, definitely a step above Chase Claypool, even though Claypool looked okay. But again, like I said, man, when you start analyzing football and getting into the minutia of those things, you can see those little things. Not everybody can notice that. Not everyone can look at that and say, oh, hips a little tighter, a little stiffer, he comes up too fast, or, he's a little slow out of his break. Not everybody can see that because they're not looking for that. But when you're looking for those little details, you can see the best from the rest. The same reason why a guy like, I'm always going to call him what I first knew him as instead of Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson. Anybody that knew football could clearly see that boy's footwork was have mercy. You know what I mean? Chad Johnson footwork was bananas. Stop and go. Oh my God, he'd put you in a spin cycle. And that boy, Chad Johnson, was definitely one of my favorite receivers, man, just because of his footwork for that time. Even though he was with Cincinnati, I always loved what that boy was able to do. And then, of course, our boy AB. AB was another guy that, his footwork was out of this world. His foot control, his body control, the way he could get separation. You can see these little things when you really look at these guys, where some people just regular fans, and I don't mean that as a slight, but regular fans don't really know all that. They'll just see a guy who's open, who catches the ball, and they'll be saying, oh, that dude is great. But you don't know all of the details, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I say all that to say this. I went on a little rant there. Yeah. Chase Claypool and the rest of the guys on the team, I definitely want to see them, increase their skills, their skill set, the route tree, and all of that. I would love all of these guys to be a threat to do anything. A threat to do anything. And that's, again, I know some of you guys are kind of down on him right now, but that's another thing that I like about Juju. To me, Juju is not a one-trick pony when it comes to receiving. He's not a blazer, but he knows how to run after the catch. Obviously, we've seen him do it twice, run 97 yards in a creative way, angling himself, to make sure he's not caught. Again, people who know sports know 4 or 5 ain't no slowpoke. He's just not a burner, right? But Juju is good after the catch, strong. He's a good blocker, combative catcher. He could definitely still continue to work on his route running as far as footwork and all that, but he's not a one-trick pony. You can hit Juju across the middle. Juju can run a stop. He can run an out. He can even run deep. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has all of that in his arsenal. He's not Ryan Switzer that we all know is basically a possession slot, right? Very little rack, if any. No rack. We all know the moniker we've gave him. James Washington here of late is pretty much just been a air it out type of guy. We did see, a little more routes come out of James Washington last year, but clearly you can see that he's just not the route guard or anything like that. So I don't have a problem with any of these guys. Actually, I think the best route runner, or at least footwork wise, was Deontay Johnson. On that roster last year. And that's just my assessment. Some of you may or may not agree, but I think Deontay Johnson is going to be that guy. And let me comment on this. Again, shout outs to Steelers Depot, man. Alex and Dave on their podcast, they mentioned that when we're in a 2 receiver set, you might actually see Juju and Deontay Johnson. I said, okay. And they seem to think that James Washington will be the one who comes in technically, when we go 11 personnel, which I know we'll spend a lot of time in that package, but he was basically saying, who's probably going to be on the starter sheet as far as 2 wide receivers would be Juju and Deontay Johnson rather than Juju and Washington. So I think that's interesting, but I don't think I could disagree with that. I think I do at this moment like Deontay Johnson in a one-on-one situation more than I like James Washington, because, again, Deontay can do more. He has those sneaky ways of getting separation. He can run across the middle. He can run quick slants and things like that. So, and you can throw it deep to him if you have to. So I do kind of like that. I think that's all I got, man. I don't see anything else on my list. But those were my quick two takeaways, man. Listening to both of those guys, again, I think the young boys are going to play. You listen to how Canada, I almost forgot to mention what he said, but basically he said a lot about your man Anthony McFarland. Really praised him. He's familiar with him, and he says that he's pretty sure he feels like that he will carve out, a little niche for him to be able to play. So I think we're going to see some contributions from the young guys this year. I also hope, because of the familiarity with Canada and Fichtner, that they will be doing more of a collaborative effort when it comes to the offense. I hope we're not going to be one of those teams that you only coach the quarterbacks, you only do the offensive coordinating. I hope we treat it more like an offensive staff where we all come together, especially when you have a guy that's technically a quarterback coach, but he has, coordinator pedigree. Why not use that? We all, we know from his history, he likes misdirection and things like that. We have guys on this staff that I would love to see misdirection, action, reverses, things like that, motion. Just think about it. Getting guys like Deontay Johnson and Anthony McFarland in space. Getting Juju, even getting him on the move and, getting a clean release off the line, like things like that. I would like to see that. So I'm hoping that, he's just not going to merge into what we do. I hope it's more of a collaborative effort where Fichtner, Canada, even Tomlin, these guys all come together and say, okay, we're going to hit like this. This is the way we're going to approach it. And I think it'll be great, man. And if Ben can be a glimpse of what he was in 2018 in terms of yardage, touchdowns, we might have a good shot. But one thing I will say, this schedule is not easy, folks. So, and I got to agree with my father-in-law, Leonard, where we talked about this last week. A lot of people out there talking 12-4 and 13-3. Where y'all see that at? I'm not saying it's not possible, but nah, don't get crazy like that. Now, I will throw you guys a bone. I'll shoot you a little bit of bail in this regard. One would think that if our defense plays relatively close to what they did last year or better, your offense is going to improve. You take a look at some of them games last year and you would say if Ben Roethlisberger was out there, do we win a few of those? Perhaps. So I could understand the optimism, but I'm not going as far as 12-4 or 13-3 or nothing like that. Nah, I'm going to have to see the first few games of ours to see what we really looking like. And y'all know I don't really know where that team is till about week 6. That's just me. But I ain't jumping out the window like that. I think we'll have a better season. We'll probably be able to make the playoffs, especially the way the format is now. More teams are able to get in. But I'm still not calling us the winner of the AFC North right now. I'm being 100% honest. With the Steelers hat on. With all the Steelers, paraphernalia in the back. I'm not going to be a homer like that and act like the Ravens ain't going to be formidable. And act like we not chasing them right at this moment. So, there you have it. But let's see if we got any phone calls, man. See what we got in the queue. We have 3 phone calls, so y'all know the routine, man. Zip through them. Let's get through them. Say your piece and be out. But let's do a quick check to make sure Blog Talk is our friend tonight. 803-505-651. If you guys are also listening to the stream, give us a confirmation right now that you can not only hear me in the stream, but you're literally hearing me in the phone queue. So that way we know how to approach Blog Talk. Because Blog Talk be trying to throw a wrench in us sometimes, but we know how to maneuver around it when it's not working. But somebody give me an A-OK so we know how to approach it. Nays says you guys smoking rocks. What y'all talking about? What they smoking rocks on, Nays? You talking about the schedule? I mean the record? And if you disagree with that, what you think we're going to be? Nay said, you guys are smoking rocks. But I see why Diggy said 11-5. Antoine, my man C. Antoine Hill says 10-6. That's what I'm saying. It's more like it. I do think we'll have a winning season, but that's more, more like it. And if we do better than that, great. All right, guys, just double checking to make sure you can hear me in the phone queue. So I'm just waiting for those guys to give me that confirmation, and then we will take the phone calls. Nay says, I doubt we go 8-8 with Tomlin as the head coach. Well, I mean, you got to pay attention to the competition in front of you, man. I mean, listen, I would love the Steelers to win the Super Bowl every year, but we have to be realistic when we talk about our team. We can have dreams, but also have some realities. I can hear you. All right, great. All right, guys, so let's take these phone calls. And again, for you guys that are new to calling, remember, while you're on the phone, make sure you mute the background. Don't have the stream playing in the background because it'll give double audio and it has a delay, et cetera, et cetera. So, all right, let's get to it, man. First up, area code 803. How you doing tonight?
Hey, how you doing tonight? Can you hear me good?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, good. Well, tonight, I like the additions of Ike Hilliard and Matt Canada. And as long as we are doing things to using misdirection and not solely catering to Big Ben's type of offensive chucking and ducking the ball down the field, I think we have a chance to pull off a couple of games that we're not supposed to win. The key is not lose the games that we're supposed to lose, not the lose games we're supposed to win. Secondly, the big news I thought this week was the news of Joey Bosa getting a large contract, because I feel that largely affects T.J. Watt's future and Bud Dupree's lack of future in Pittsburgh. Don't think you would get much for Terrell Edmonds because he was a reach as a first-round draft pick. He was a reach. So if we would ever trade Edmonds, probably get about a 4th or 5th round. Thank you so much.
Man, thank you, 803, man. Mr. Winningham always coming through, man, and always giving great perspective. But not only that, a lot of times when he comes through, y'all notice he reminds me of something. So let me comment on what he just said really quick, then we'll move on to the next caller. Because, again, like I said, if I'm going to tell you guys to be short, I'm going to be short as well with my replies. Yes, I absolutely forgot about that. Forgot about the Joey Bosa signing and absolutely agree with you 1,000%. Setting the market, man. And it is crazy because here's the dilemma that it puts the Steelers in. Bud Dupree is up first. What if Bud Dupree has the same season he had last year? So from a business standpoint, you got to think about paying him. And not only does paying him affect T.J. Watt, but also on the outside affects T.J. Watt, like Joey Bosa, because I would only assume that T.J. Watt is going to continue to be what he is or even get better, which means he might be looking to be the highest paid, rightfully so, when it's time to pay him. So are you going to be able to pay both of these guys? So great point, 803. Joey Bosa has set the market right there, or at least, put it right where it needs to be. And that's going to have huge implications. Jesus, guys, I can't talk. Huge implications against, T.J. Watt. Bud Dupree. Because T.J. has to be the priority. So that's going to be interesting. Alex Highsmith, let's keep an eye on him. Next up, area code 505. How you doing tonight?
Yo. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's up, Sim? I love the show. Shout out from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I really want to get excited for this season, but I can't because of all the stuff that's going on around, and I'm kind of seeing some controversy in advance. So I just want to see what you think about this. So they're saying that a vaccine will come out in November by the end of this year, and let's say that we have a season at that point. Do you think that the NFL would and should force their players to get vaccinated?
Ooh. Man, I'll answer that really quick while you're on. I could be in the minority here, guys. No, I don't like the idea of a forced vaccine. Only because personally, I don't really do vaccines either. I've never had the flu shot. Last vaccine I got was this thing they called a Tdap. You know, when my son was born, he's about to be 7 this year. I didn't even want to do that. But, you know, it kind of got me when they were saying, well, if you get sick and your son, okay. But I'm not one for vaccines. That's just my opinion. I don't knock anybody who takes them. But yeah, I absolutely do not agree with, you know, any type of mandate for a vaccine. That's just my opinion. What else you got? That's all?
Yeah, that's all that's on my mind. Like, I see you guys talking about the season and how pumped it was getting, but I just can't do it. I can't do it because I don't want to get my feelings hurt if there's no season.
Yeah.
As much as I love this team, but yeah, man, that's all I got. Thank
Man.
you very much, Tim. I love the show coming up from the 505 Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm sure that a lot of people are not from there, so yeah.
Man, I appreciate the call.
Thank you very
Definitely
much, sir.
appreciate that. You're welcome, man. You're welcome. Definitely welcome. Thank you for calling. It's funny that you're calling from New Mexico because true story, and Leonard in here would notice, my mother-in-law loves New Mexico. I mean, she wants to go there so bad. I can't remember if it's, you know, Albuquerque that she wants to go to, but she really wants to go to New Mexico. When they had one of those shows where you could win the dream house and it was in New Mexico, she entered that. So that's crazy. I was just literally talking to her about New Mexico probably about 2 or 3 days ago, and then you called tonight. So that's crazy how the universe works. But yeah, I'll just say that again really quick and I'll move to the next call. It's a no for me on vaccinations, man. I'm just not, you know, I won't go crazy off the rails tonight. We'll keep it Steelers. But I have my reasons why I ain't feeling that. Not feeling vaccinations. Do your research. That's all I would say. Do your research before you just willy-nilly jump out there and get vaccinated, especially in this situation with COVID. Not trying to tell everybody what they should or shouldn't do. I'm just saying, if I could give you some advice or at least, you know, provoke you to research, whether, you know, your research determines that you should or shouldn't, I've done my job. But trust, brand new vaccination for this newfound disease, nah, miss me with that. But yeah, appreciate your call, man. Appreciate your call. Let's move on to the next one. Area 651. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Sam. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Can't complain.
All right, so I just got a couple things, and the second one, I really want to get your opinion on it. The first one was I was thinking about you and our wide receivers core, and I was like, I go back to when he was drafted. The first thing I thought, man, that's Hines Ward all over again, with more size, and he's dependable, good route running. And with the way our wide receivers are set up this year, that's all. He don't have to be anything more. Be clutch, be not McDonald, not Deontay Johnson, not Washington. You has to be the clutch man. Third down. That's like I said, when we went to the Super Bowl that year with Well Day Boy, him and Hines Ward on third down was just ridiculous. I want to know what our percentage was that year because he had to be one of the best in the league. So other than that, one other question, one actually. Do you think Joe Hayden is on that stage where he's just about out of here? And the reason I say that is, you know how you have an old car, right? And it runs rough. You think it's about over. And then right before it dies, man, it runs like a Cadillac. I mean, it runs just as smooth. Man, you're like, man, my car doing all right. Did it die on you? You know? So I'm just saying he had that season last year. It makes me wonder, you know. But, yeah, the last thing was I was thinking about how the NBA and the MLB is handling, you know, the COVID situation. And I was wondering, do you think that if the NFL had done 4 regional bubbles, right, you know, Southeast, you know, Southeast, Northeast, you know, just in those pockets, and have 8 teams in each bubble. And if you happen to play another team, most teams have private planes or can get that going. And you fly, if you happen to play a team in another bubble, we're going straight there, getting straight out. And those teams are responsible for their bubbles, right? We would only have, I guess, maybe 4 games on the field that day. Do you think that's something that could have happened? I know by now it's probably too late, but I don't think they've put any measures together to make it safe to even make it possible to have a season. But I just wanted your thoughts on those things. All right.
Oh man, appreciate the call. Them great points for me to talk about. Real quick, I see that Rough House Boxing said Blog Talk won't let him through. It's crazy, man, because as you guys hear, I've taken 3 calls, and I know even sometimes when Kenyon try to call, it doesn't. I don't know, man. It's almost like it picks phone numbers that it hates. And Rough House used to always call, so that's what's crazy. But yeah, let me get to your points, man. First, the Joe Hayden point. Great point. And I hate to have to talk about this, and actually let me take the headset off because that's probably going to be the last call of the night. Daggett 651. You're making me talk about something that I don't want to think about, but it's an actual reality. I've thought about that offline as well. Was Joe Hayden's year a product of he's healthy and he still has juice in the tank? Or it's one of them things that we've seen quite often with some athletes. They have a phenomenal year at the end of their run, and then they just fall off. I really hope it's the first option. I hope Joe Hayden is basically, he's healthy, he's settled into what the Steelers are doing. We don't seem to be asking him to do extremely too much, even though we do play a lot more man, even though he did travel a little bit. But it seems like what we have him doing, he's comfortable doing it. I think what also is helping him is Minkah Fitzpatrick. You know, you can allow Joe Hayden to be a little looser, especially if you have coverage over the top in Minkah. You know, so that's pretty much going to be your stronger side. And yeah, that probably has contributed to his success. So I'm going to hope that it's the first option, that he's healthy, he still has juice in the tank. You know, now when you're 30 plus years old and you're in shape, you know, it's not like back in the day when somebody hit 30. So I'm hoping that's what it is, even though either way, he's definitely still more on his way out, you know, being plus 30. I hope it's not the latter. Oh, man, wouldn't it be terrible if all of a sudden Joe Hayden just turns into the guy that they go at, you know? And also, let me not forget this guy because we seem to always forget him. Steven Nelson is also, you know, a product of Joe Hayden's success. However, here's the interesting fact. I believe Joe Hayden was thrown at more than Nelson. Because I didn't even realize these stats, man, until I saw, I think PFF put it up. Nelson only gave up 1 touchdown. And Nelson, think about all them games where we saw that he was doing his thing man to man. Yeah, you okay, OBJ got him, you know, for a deep one. He gave up a couple more passes here and there, but for the most part, we wasn't even hearing Steven Nelson's name, which means he was locking his man up. Joe Hayden was getting more balls thrown his way and still had a good season. So like I said, I think the addition of Minkah has definitely helped him out. So we'll see. The other point, great point, man, and we talked about this a little bit last week, and I don't know if it's too late. You know, maybe they can audible. I mean, we still got time. I mean, we still got a month before, you know, first season game. My only question is, I'm trying to figure out how you play multiple games on the same field in the same day. Not so much field conditions. I mean, that's one of the things you're just going to have to adjust to, you know, where you would say, oh, man, the grass is rough and, you know, there's divots in it. And you're just going to have to adjust to that. This is a different season. It is what it is. But the lines, that's going to be the problem. Like, the lines on the field, to me, would be more of the issue. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you have more of a gap in between the game times, or maybe some games start earlier. Like, you notice the NBA, they've had some games that have started as early as 4 p.m. So maybe, you know, you have a game, I don't know, I'm just spitballing. Maybe there's a game that starts at 11 or starts at 12 instead of 1. or maybe here it is. How about this? This would be crazy, but how about they incorporate, and this is not the actual schedule, but kind of incorporate what happens when they have the London games, right? Where some teams are playing as early as 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And then you allow a little gap in between time, maybe an hour, to get the feel back right. Boom. Another team. Do the same thing. Get the feel right again. Boom. And maybe you do that on both Saturday and Sunday. Maybe that works. I don't know. But I do think there is probably a way that you could create a bubble situation. What I said last week was more so similar to what you're saying, either regional, or I was saying maybe you could do it by division. Maybe you have these sites, right? And you could have all the division games played in X amount of weeks. Then there's a break. You travel to the next bubble. You play the other teams that are not in your conference and not in your division, et cetera, et cetera. And then you come back and finish out with the conference game. So for one individual week, one individual stretch of conference games, we're talking about the AFC North. Okay, week 1, Steelers versus Browns, Bengals versus Ravens. Week 2, Browns versus Bengals, Ravens versus Steelers. Week 3, Steelers versus Bengals, Browns versus Ravens, right? And then boom, you shift to the next bubble, get those teams out, maybe something like that. I think it could possibly work. My only question again would be the handling of the field. Are you able to play that many games on one football field? So that would be my only question. But great point, man. And honestly, man, the way the NBA is working with them not having any positive tests, I haven't checked today, but I know since they had started up last week, no positive tests, since they had kind of locked down, since they had tested, a little later in July, I think that's going to have to be the way to go, especially, man, again, like you said, with the MLB, now you see how fast a team can boom, blow up, and it can spiral downhill very quick. Because this disease, man, I keep calling it a disease. This virus is very contagious, it seems. So, yeah, good stuff, man. And I'm surprised that we got an hour out of this show, man. We had 57 minutes, so I'll answer a few chats here, and then we'll get up out of here. Whoa. I'll tell y'all in a minute why I'm saying whoa. In the meantime, let me take a look and see if I can find Cagle's tweet, because I wanted you guys to see his idea that he had for me. And I told the audience, Cagle, that I wouldn't get to it this week, but perhaps next week. Let me see if I can find your tweet, man. Shout outs to I Sloth. That's why I was saying, whoa, I had already seen it, but I wanted to wait for, the donation avatar, if you will, to come up. Man, salutes to you. Appreciate the donation, man. Big respect for that. All right, so Cagle's Bagel, man, he said he had just watched the Steelers deep dive that franchise guy. He's talking about gaming. And shout outs to franchise guy. If you see this, you my man right there. He says, thought it would be a good topic to talk about a category or two on Terrible Towel Tuesday. All of the rankings are out for all 32 teams. So he basically wanted me to, kind of talk about, I guess, where the Steelers are, maybe compare it to other teams. Yes, I think that's a great idea. You guys let me know if you would be interested in hearing that. And if so, maybe I can get that prepared and prepped for next week's show. But I definitely wanted to, at least shout out Cagle right there who had sent me that tweet. I think that might be a good idea as well. Especially, guys, if we don't have a season. Then, like I said, I'm going to try to find a unique way to bring Terrible Towel Tuesday to you guys using Madden as our point of reference. If there's no NFL season, that could be interesting, but I like the challenge of having to be creative, and hopefully we don't have to do that, but if we do, I think we'll have some fun with that. But anyway, guys, let me read a few chats here, man. I just talked all of those minutes away, but I will spend a few more minutes in here to read a few chats. Luis D said, Nays gone first. You promote Hydro and Democrats. Wrong YouTube channel. Yeah. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not talk about anything that's not still related, folks. Not here. Not on this show. Build His Life. He said, let's get that music. Yeah. My bad. I will get the background music, bring it back to you guys next week. I didn't know you guys missed it, but yeah, I will do that. I will continue to do that. Maybe I'll have a little playlist of, the tracks that I create and just allow it to cycle. So yeah, I'll get that background music back up there, man, as soon as I can. Nay says Steve Nelson had a career year with Pittsburgh. Yes, he did. Jesse George says Minka and TJ both got shafted. So, what do he say? So did Cam and DeCastro. Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm not trying to be a homer, but I reached out to my EA contact and was like, look, man, how Minka don't make that top safety list? Come on, fam. Like, I'm trying not to be a homer here, but come on. Minka Fitzpatrick was that dude last year. So how does he not, rank as a top safety in Madden? Come on, man. Come on. Don't like that. Don't like that whatsoever. Ironically, I drank out of my EA cup. Shout outs to my good brother C. Antoine Hill for the donation, man. You guys are killing it tonight. I appreciate that. Let me read your comment. He says, I appreciate you for what you do. Steelers 10-6 or 8-8 and fire Brett Brown. Oh, Lord, don't get me started on my Sixers. But yeah, man, excuse me, just keeping it realistic. Got to be realistic, man. I just don't see 12-4 right out the gate. We don't know. And it's because of what we don't know is the reason why we can't shoot for the moon like that. Now, who knows? Maybe the marriage, between Fichtner and Canada and Ben and, the offense, it all clicks. And Ben and Juju clicking and he's looking like Ben's number one. And you got Chase Claypool that's catching a few deep balls a game. You got James Washington coming down with the possession catches. The tough one-on-one man catches. Deontay Johnson is continuing to do his thing with separation. Ebron, giving you some shots down the field. Ben going back to Vance McDonald, McDonald being what he was that year when him and Ben was connected. Hey, maybe the marriage, it just works. The run game is back into the fold. And maybe we dominate. I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. Because there's the unknown, I can't shoot for the moon. Can't shoot for the moon when there's the unknown is right there. Adrian says, you're going to get banned, bro. Who? What's going on, man? He says somebody's going to get banned. What's happening, Adrian Holgwin? Let me know what's going on. Is it something I need to be paying attention to? Who are you referring to is going to be banned? Bill Cox says, Ben looks good and ready. I like the addition of the new coaches, also Hilliard in Canada. Yep, surely do. Robert Ellison says, what do you think about running 2 tight end sets this year? Hey, man, I really like that idea. Some of you guys may remember I said that early when we signed Ebron. I like that idea, but we don't. The problem is going to be is Ebron going to be blocking capable? That's kind of been the knock on him. Is he going to be a good blocker? Because, the benefit of running 2 tight end sets is you have guys that can block so you can run out of it, and you create mismatches by, forcing the defense to match your personnel. And then you have these tight ends that are going to be a matchup nightmare. In theory, that's what you want out of your 2 tight end sets. So if it works, yes, let's do it. I would love for that to happen. If it works and Ebron, can be what we need him to be out of the 2 tight end set. Adrian says, they've been hating on the Steelers for a long time. Adrian, I need you to give me the heads up again, man. You said somebody's going to get banned. Were you talking about somebody in the chat? Is it something I need to be paying attention to? Is somebody talking crazy? Why Diggy? I haven't read his comment yet. Actually, I'm going to read David Douglas and then Why Diggy. David Douglas says, I hope Madden 21 showed the Steelers some love with a better overall. They not. I've been fighting that battle for a long time, and I'm behind the curtain with those guys. Why Diggy says the NBA and NHL seem to have a handle on things with a type of bubble as opposed to the MLB without the bubble. Hopefully the NFL is paying attention. I'm going to say the same thing, man. I think if you can make it work and find a way for it to work, make it work. Better safe than sorry. You know what I mean? Better safe than sorry. My good buddy Ron, how you doing tonight, sir? Appreciate you coming out, man. George Casada says, or Jorge Casada, all of our wide receivers can block now for those sweeps with Canada. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. We got some opportunities out there. Cagle says, do you see McFarland being useful for things like running Wildcat? I know we're tired of that, but maybe it could work. Shout-outs again, man, to see Antoine Hill for another donation. I don't know, Cagle. I don't know if we're going to use McFarland in that regard. I wouldn't lean on that. Maybe, but nah, I don't know. Antoine says, I forgot. Steven Nelson should have been on the top 100 list. Yeah, the boy played good last year, man. Played very good. Yes, okay, Adrian, I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Guys, I got to ask that you not, don't go into things that we're not here for. It's not sports related. We all have opinions when it comes to politics and the ways of the world and all that. I get it, but guys, let's not do that here for two reasons. For one, people are not coming to this show for that. I think a lot of people use certain things like, your favorite show, even if I'm just saying that. I'm not saying I'm your favorite show, but you use your favorite show to escape, or your favorite video game, or, things that you enjoy to do that are not so serious to escape worldly things, right? Y'all know I could chop it up in that regard too, but that's not what this show was for. So don't make anybody else uncomfortable talking about things that's not sports Steelers related here. The second reason, YouTube is starting to get really crazy and starting to crack down on a lot of that stuff. So I have to ask you guys, man, to watch the political talk, watch the language and things like that, even when you call in. And thankfully, a lot of you guys, I haven't had any issues with that when you call. But, YouTube is starting to flag certain things, language and things like that. So that's why I ask you guys to just, let's keep it all clean and kosher, man, while we over here. One more comment and then we'll get out of here. Big Scale says, if we can run the ball, we will be nasty. Not concerned about the pass game. Defense will be top 5 once again. Hashtag Blitzburg. I like how you think, Big Scales. I like how you think. If our offense can click, again, one would think if you look back to last year and you would say if we had any better offense, we would have been in great position to compete. So you would think it will improve with Ben Roethlisberger. My only caution is we don't know that. We just don't know that. We have to wait and see it. But, yeah, I think we could be something, man, and we can develop any offense. Let me read that last one. My bad. I did want to comment on that. Luis D says, Ed Reed and Troy are two different style players, but doesn't mean they don't belong in the same conversation as being great. So I think Bart Scott said something crazy about that. Did he actually say that they don't belong in the same conversation? Somebody, tell me that in the chat real quick, and I'll give my general opinion on it, even without knowing that information. Listen, man, I've always been one to say that I don't really compare Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed. They are two different types of safeties. They play totally different. However, both of them have played very similar in games. We've seen them both do similar things of each other, but they're two different styles. So if Bart Scott, y'all said he did say that, if this dude said they don't belong in the same conversation, tell me this. I'll make it very simple for you, Bart Scott. How is it that Troy Polamalu, Troy P, the hair, whatever you want to call him, how does he not belong in the same conversation as any safety that has ever played in the NFL? Answer that question, Bart Scott. How does Troy Polamalu not belong in any conversation? Yes, I'm saying it. And again, it's not because I'm pro Steelers or I'm being a homer and blah, blah, blah. No, we talking facts now. How does Troy Polamalu not belong in the conversation with any safety who's ever played in the NFL? If you can answer that with a straight face, maybe I'll listen to you. So to say that he doesn't belong in the same conversation is, come on, man. And listen, y'all know I've said it right here on this show. Ed Reed, probably one of my favorite safeties of all time, bar none. And that's why I don't compare him to Troy, because Ed was a different guy, totally different. And the way they approached the game, Ed Reed was a ball hawk. Troy Polamalu was a playmaker. You know what I'm saying? They both are playmakers, but understand what I'm saying. Ed Reed was more like, that dude was a center fielder, free safety. I mean, he's a dream. You know, just think about how he used to bait, you know, like that footage that Belichick and Brady broke down, how he completely abandoned his assignment to bait Tom Brady into throwing the ball where he wanted it to go. Or not even Tom. They was looking at film from another game. That dude was just sick with it, man, as far as his ball skill, even when he was in college. You know what I'm saying? They're different types of guys. But Troy Polamalu is one of the best safeties ever. Both of those guys are. So I don't want to hear they don't belong, and I don't want to hear you saying that. Come on, man. They're both super great. You just can't compare those two guys traditionally. One is a strong safety, one is a free. Come on, man. That stuff like that is stupid. And I'm saying that as a Steelers fan. Ed Reed is one of my favorite players. And he goes deeper than football. And some of y'all will get what I'm saying. Some of y'all will. Just Ed Reed just always being Ed Reed. And just being Ed from around the block. You know what I mean? Like, he just, it was never no frills with him. It was never, you know, nothing bougie. It was just hard-nosed from around the way Ed Reed that would go out there and ball. You know what I'm saying? It was nothing fake about him. It was like he wasn't a square. He was just that guy from the round the way. You know what I mean? Like, I love that about Ed Reed. He's always Ed Reed. So, like I said, that's a little different than football. There's other reasons why Ed Reed is my guy. But anyway, that's all I got. So before we go, y'all know the routine. I'm always going to ask you guys to do this. Let me give you a visual representation. That's simple. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Cut on your notifications so you know when we're streaming. Thumbs up. That's very easy. It doesn't cost you anything. And speaking of costs, I appreciate all of you guys, man, that donated here tonight. You guys know you never have to, but I always appreciate that, man. Appreciate that wholeheartedly. If you guys ever want to donate, you can do it right here in the stream. You click on the $sign just like the rest of these guys did here tonight. There you have it. But if you prefer a different method, some of you do. And y'all know who y'all are. I appreciate you as well. If you prefer Cash App, you prefer PayPal, that information is in the description. And I will definitely send you a confirmation email giving you your thanks as well. But other than that, I hope everyone has a great week. Be safe. Keep your eyes open. Do your own research when it comes to everything. Don't just believe what you hear. Do your own research. But I hope everyone stays safe, man. God bless. Have a good night. Great week. And I thank you guys for tuning in to Terrible Towel Tuesday. Peace.